This is Taste Life Nutrition Radio, and I need to do my job here. Turn things up as things I'm supposed to do that I always forget to do. All right. So thank you for being here. Today's Taste Life Nutrition Radio, streaming live, of course, on KUHSdenver.com, where we bring in some of the most amazing people I've ever met, and now you know, which is awesome. So, what are we about? What are we about? We are about health, we're about wellness, and we're about truth in health and wellness. And I got a weird button here. Okay, sorry guys. All right, I don't know what to do with it. Anyway, so we want to bring to you the best that we can when it comes to health and wellness and the truth in health and wellness. I'm being repetitive. I'm going to stop right there. We're running late, and so I get a little verklempt. So there's so much out there that, so much goodness out there that people have to offer and people have to bring to our world and to our daily lives, depending on what we're dealing with. And right, so mental and emotional health, physical health, spiritual health, mindset, relational health, financial health, all of these things are really important to building and creating the most optimal life that we can. And so my goal is to bring to you those who are both in the conventional and those who are not in the conventional, because I think it's important to know the options that we have, the people who are out there who are here to build you up, to build me up, to help us grow, and to help us create, whether it's creating our life, creating our business, or creating little babies. We've been talking a lot about that recently. So as you well know, Soulful Conception is coming to fruition very soon, which is where we do preconception care and planning and impacting our own lives, but impacting generations to come. But today we're going to talk about some really cool stuff, because what we also know is that sometimes conception can be hard, and it's not necessarily fun. It can be really, really frustrating and really scary, and can really start to bring you down, which what does that do? Creates more frustration, more stress, more fatigue, and is harder and harder and harder on the body. So I'm going to stop just rambling, and I'm going to introduce Lynsi Eastburn, who is just got the coolest stuff that she does in fertility. So first, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Nikki, for having me. Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. I've been looking forward to this because I love what you do. I think it is so much fun. And so what we're going to talk about is hypnofertility. And it sounds kind of basic, and it's the farthest thing from basic that you can imagine. And she's going to give you so much insight and so much to just chew on and be excited about. So it's gonna be really good stuff. But first, we always start the show with gratitude, because gratitude can change the world. Gratitude can lift us. It can help us to create what we're looking to create in life and in business. And of course, if we're grateful, it can help us create babies.
Exactly.
So I'm sort of throwing this on you, but what are you grateful for today?
Well, I am grateful that I made it here through that snow.
Yeah, I know the snow is a little bit crazy this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm really grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to have a chance to talk about the work I do, and that I'm able to help so many women and couples and people to have their babies.
Yeah, it's really cool. What we're dealing with right now is this amazing, well, it's not so amazing, horrible incidence of low fertility rates for so many reasons, and I think it's a lot more than we can discuss here. But it's important to know that there are so many really great options out there. Again, both conventional and unconventional, and sometimes you combine them both. Right? Super important to know that you don't have to go just one direction. There are many ways to go, and to build your team. And so for me today, I'm also grateful for getting here in the snow. I woke up thinking, actually when I woke up the sky was clear. It was about 5 a.m. The sky was clear. My husband's like, it's going to be a beautiful day. It's going to be a beautiful snowy day. An hour later it was snowing. But I'm grateful for, gosh, I think I said this last week, but it's really true that I'm grateful for the show and the ability to meet and bring to you people who, again, are doing really amazing things that are outside of what we know even can be possible sometimes, I think. And so I'm grateful to have The Voice. I'm grateful to have KUHS. I'm grateful that Thanksgiving's coming because it gives a little time for reflection, gives a little time, a little downtime. Actually, my plan was kind of take a lot of next week off. That's not happening now. I just keep booking, which is amazing and a blessing in and of itself. You know, it's good to know that you've got those extra couple of days, just kind of be with friends, be with family, enjoy each other, and just be so thankful for all that we have. Even when there's a little bit of craziness in the world, there's so much to be grateful for. So let's just jump in, and I'd like for people to know, first off, you know, the who you are, the why you are, what excites you, what motivates you, you know, all of the things, because you do really cool work.
Yeah, no, I do. I am so grateful, and I am just in awe of the work that I do every single day. And at my home office, I have, you know, baby pictures all over my wall, so it's always behind me. And I'll walk into my office just absolutely still struck by amazement that I'm able to do this incredible, incredible work. Yeah, there's so many things, you know, that I can talk about with this, and so many directions to go. The HypnoFertility itself, this is something I started years and years ago when women started to come into my office trying to get pregnant and unable to. And whether they might have been doing natural conception or doing some kind of medical, you know, treatment, they were either having diagnoses of, you know, unexplained infertility, or they were unable to get pregnant, or they were told they weren't candidates for IVF, and they came in to see if hypnosis could help, and it absolutely does. No one was doing hypnosis at that time for fertility. It's not that it had never been used, but it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And so we had, you know, childbirth hypnosis, which I worked with, and then, you know, hypnosis is good for things like stress and anxiety, and, you know, these are things that people struggling to get pregnant are dealing with. And so that's how it kind of became.
It's kind of that nasty spiral, right? So you are kind of frustrated because things aren't working, and then they don't work again, and you get more frustrated and more fearful, and they don't work again, and more frustrated, more fearful. And is it because it's not working because of the frustration and fearfulness, and then you keep going down? So it's so much mindset, which impacts the physical, and the physical can impact the mindset.
Yeah, exactly. And in hypnosis, we call that compounding. And it can work for you, and it can work against you. So that when we're working on, you know, positive thinking, or we're working on gratitude, we're compounding the positive. And when something like that spiral, it is absolutely a spiral that occurs. And you're exactly right. You know, we think we're going to get pregnant in that first month or that first try, and then it doesn't happen, and it's like, well, okay, and work a little bit more, and then all of a sudden there's fear, and this isn't happening, and what am I going to do? And of course that's going to cause stress. It's going to cause fight or flight. Fight or flight is not conducive to getting pregnant. In fact, the body, you know, is directing its energy to areas where we can survive. And away from, it's like, well, we don't need to be reproducing right now, we don't need to be eating and digesting right now, and so that is not conducive to pregnancy. And then it spirals into beating ourselves up. You know, and a lot of women come to me and say, I feel like I'm broken, I should be able to do this, I don't know what's wrong with me. And sometimes the medical world doesn't know either. And then there's a diagnosis called unexplained infertility, and to people who get that, it's devastating because they feel like, I don't know what it is. If I knew what it was, I could do something. From a hypnotic standpoint, unexplained infertility is, oh wow, yes, subconscious mind, subconscious blocks. So it's actually something that I find is a good thing to hear, because they don't know something, they can't find anything medical going on. They're not sure what's happening. It's like, okay, subconscious mind. We've just got work to do that the medical world doesn't know how to work on. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And it complements the medical work.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, hypnosis is amazing because it's not contraindicated to anything, and it complements anything anyone's doing and supports that mind-body-spirit balance.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So you started, it was almost kind of an accident how this started. Yeah.
Yep.
And so at this point you are teaching, you have a whole certification process, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And so all around the world.
Yes.
Yeah, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I have a global practice, and that's been going on for a long, long time. I was doing, you know, online sessions or phone sessions before it was a thing. And that really happened, you're right, it was almost an accident. I feel like Spirit brought this to me and kind of dropped this in my lap and says, you know, what, do you want to do this? Say yes or no. And I was absolutely all about this. It's amazing work. It's so rewarding and exciting. And so, yeah, I did, it did start to come together. And I started training people because when this happened, I started looking, well, what's going on? Is there a training for this? Is there any information on this? No, there wasn't. There's some, you know, research studies from the 1940s.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and they did a little bit with it, and, you know, people would do a little bit with it because as a hypnotist, you should be able to work with whatever walks into your office.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was no specialty. And, you know, we like to get trained. We like to have more information. We like to benefit from someone else's experience. And so I was using, you know, my skills in hypnosis, and I do have a background in the healing arts as well. And I was using this and using applications that were really helpful in other areas, and found I was getting these babies. These babies were showing up, and, you know, it was, where are these babies coming from? And even, you know, medical clinics were taking patients back that they had said, you know, it wasn't going to work for. And things were shifting, things were changing, and so then the next thing I know, I'm creating a training and helping others with this. It just became my specialty. I didn't have time to do anything else, and I always cared about babies, and always cared about women being able to have them, and so, you know, it was just such a joy to me. I absolutely wanted to pursue it, and the next thing I know, I had HypnoFertility, started calling it HypnoFertility. It was a thing. And I really wanted to get it out there as an option for people trying to get pregnant, men, women, couples. Yeah. Because it is a powerful option, and not everyone, you know, knows about it. Hypnosis is kind of mainstream. It's an art and a science, and at the same time, it can kind of be in the so-called woo-woo area.
Sure.
So I really wanted to, you know, get that out there so people knew they had another option.
So one of the things that you said was people will go back to their medical doctors, and then things started moving and changing, and, you know, and these were doctors or people who told these women they couldn't do it. Right. And so this is what I think is really, really important. And if you don't get anything out of this whole show, which you'll get a ton of stuff, but if you don't get anything out of this whole show, is take what she just said and take it to heart, because just because someone tells you something doesn't mean it's truth. Just because someone tells you you can't do something, you know, it makes me really crazy when we're told how long we have to live, when we're told that we can't heal, or that we can't reproduce, or that we can't do whatever it might be, only because of science or data, which, you know, it obviously certainly has a place, but nobody has that control. And what they're doing, in my mind, is they're taking your power away when they tell you what you can and can't do, or how long you have to live. Right. You know, a lot of times it's based off experience, and that's fine, and I get that. But, you know, there are a lot of people out there who have outlived their length of time that they were given, and a lot of babies running around when they were told that they weren't going to have babies. Right.
Absolutely. In fact, for a while they were calling my babies anecdotal because we couldn't prove them. But I'm like, but here they are. And my clients prefer anecdotal babies to a research study that proves that they can possibly exist.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool. So cool. So, a couple of things that I want you to talk about. Hold on, I want to make sure I get it. Pink starlights.
Pink starlights.
I just love this. So I want you to talk about pink starlights.
Okay, so part of the work that I do, and I was working in hypnosis from that balance of an art and science, but there's also a spiritual aspect to it. And early on, women would come to me and they'd say, well, they told me I can't have a baby. And they literally told people, you know, go home, figure out how to live your life childless, go ahead and look into adoption.
Yeah.
And they would say to me, I feel like there's a baby there. I feel like, you know, they told me I can't, but I feel like I can. I feel like it's there. And I was very tuned into that. And I really believe in intuition and the power of the mind and that inner knowing and sort of what the heart is telling us, what the soul is saying. And I basically said, I believe you. And we worked from there. And so the first book that I wrote kind of talked about how hypnosis was a benefit and could really help with infertility. I ended up writing a second one that talks more about the spiritual aspect. And I was seeing that come into play more and more. So not only was it a sense of, yes, there's a baby there, and yes, when that happens, the baby shows up, but also it was like that was evolving, that was expanding, and the babies wanted to be heard from more. And I tell my clients often, I'll say, you're creating your baby, but your baby's creating you. And there really is something to that. And we're shifting in the world. We're becoming more open, more receptive to spirituality and to energy. And there's definitely an energy, you know, around all of that. So these pink starlights showed up. Well, first of all, it was spirit babies in general. They didn't care what they were called. It didn't really matter much to them. They, you know, we've heard of different categories of types, if you will, of spirit babies. And then all of a sudden they did. They wanted me to start calling them pink starlights. They basically explained, if you will, that they were pink starlights and why. And they wanted me to bring them out, like to help make people aware of them. So they made me, if you will, write a third book called Waiting in the Wings, introducing the pink starlights. And they have a special purpose in this world, and they're bringing some incredible energy and light through. And they have a particular type. Sometimes it's hard to use the right words, you know, for this kind of thing, but their parents tend to go through a difficult fertility journey. And there's a reason for that, and part of the reason they have me working, you know, with them and with their parents is to understand that, and it brings through some hope and some awareness rather than just sort of, you know, fighting kind of in the dark.
So if I'm understanding you, you know, and something that I say a lot and talk about a lot is everything that we do that's hard is a lesson, and it teaches us, and it builds us, and it helps us to grow. And is that kind of what you're saying? Is, you know, there's difficulty there, but there's a reason behind it, because there usually is. Yeah,
and absolutely, you're right. In different things, it's the same type of thing. If someone had their baby easily, they would likely not look into the things that the pink starlights need, and that we need to have in this world as we are overcoming, and we're shifting, and we're trying to get some more balance going on. We're trying to bring in more kindness, more compassion, more balance. We're bringing through, or trying to, this balance of divine feminine and sacred masculine. And we've been really off kilter. We've been very much into this, you know, patriarchal bias, if you will. And, you know, I talk some about our energies, masculine and feminine, which is not to say girl and boy, but to say the energies that we all have. And when we spin into the negative of either, you know, we come off balance, and we end up with all sorts of issues. And we are spun right now into that negative aspect of masculine energy, which tends to be aggression, can be war, power mongering, issues like that, oppression. And we are abusing the earth. We are ravaging, you know, our Earth Mother, and this can't continue. It just doesn't work. It just can't happen. And so that's part of the baby's plan and purpose of what they're trying to bring through. And they call themselves the pink starlights because pink is that color of unconditional love. So we're not talking blue is for boys, pink is for girls. It's nothing like that at all. It's unconditional love. It's a high level of love. It's a vibrational energy that they're sending through and bringing through for us. And then starlight is, brilliance. It is so much light, it's so much brilliance, and it's coming through to help us, kind of cut through the density of the energies in the world right now.
Okay. So when someone comes to you, because I know that you work with people in sessions, right? And so what does it look like when someone comes to you and works with you?
So typically what happens is, I'll get a brief, an intake, sort of a brief bit of insight to what's been going on for them. I don't need to know a lot. I just kind of need to know where they are. Oftentimes people that come to me are dealing with age, because as you know, it's out there, a certain age, 35 years old is considered high risk.
And it's more stress.
Yeah, yes,
exactly. Can you believe, though, that they call women of 35 geriatric?
Yeah.
It's just, talk about just defeating.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Defeating, that's the perfect word. And so some of what I'm working with is to help clear, because these types of things can cause blocks, emotional blocks, subconscious blocks. And so I need to sort of know where we're going, what are you doing, are you, what have you done? Sometimes they've done 9, rounds of IVF and have had no success at all. Sometimes.
So then there's the stress of the financial piece of it. So, sorry to interrupt. There's just so much there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I talk about that too. It's like emotionally devastating. It's, physically devastating. It's quite invasive. And it is, mentally, and then it is financially devastating. In some cases, a lot of money goes into that. And we are seeing more coverage with insurance. Yep. But there's still rules and regulations. And also I work on a global level, and it's just different. It's different from, one country to another. It's different from one state to another.
Interesting, yeah. Yeah. So, do you have, so it's a totally random question, because when you said it's different from country to country and state to state, and you work with different people in different countries, do you find that there is more struggle, I don't want to say infertility, that there's more struggle in certain locations?
That's a really interesting question. That must have been one that Spirit just whispered into your ear, is the way I'm going to put that. Because I do see a lot going on with Germany and with Japan. Okay. In fact, I've got a colleague partner that she's translating everything, or has translated so much of it into Japanese, and is working there. And so, of course, in the U.S., there's a lot going on. But it's interesting. I have clients from everywhere, but Germany just keeps coming.
Really?
And I've just trained some people. All of a sudden, people coming into my trainings are like, yeah, from Germany. And one of my graduate students literally was living in Australia and bringing this through to work there, and ended up in Germany. All of a sudden. And it was supposed to be this, little short, little trip, and all of a sudden she's there for, like a year. Oh. And she is German originally, so she speaks German. But it was so funny because she was in Australia with, land and meditative space and working in that area, and all of a sudden she's just picked up and dropped into Germany.
Huh. Isn't that interesting?
Isn't it? Yeah. And I've an OB/GYN in Germany as well, and she writes a lot of articles and does a lot of interviews. And so it's really like there's this big presence. So first off, the client's coming, and then this presence of those that can work with them.
Amazing. And so one of the things that I love that you just said is an OB/GYN who was one of your students. Yeah. And so this is the beautiful thing about the conventional and the non-conventional coming together for the benefit of the patient / client. Because I have run in so many times, both personally as well as through clients, with such a close-minded attitude toward that is not conventional, toward that is not what is taught in school, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, it's constant. I have a client right now, not a fertility client, but a client right now who is, kind of this similar situation where they told her, you can't do this, and the one thing that they said that she shouldn't do, she did, and she feels amazing. And they're telling her now, with what we're dealing with her situation with, which is fairly severe, fairly chronic, that there's nothing that you can do, and you have to be on infusions your entire life. And like, again, it's the let's not keep these blinders on. I always think about the blinders. I think of these amazing horses who, I'm a horse lover, but they're like this. I'm like, it breaks my heart. I'm like, and I know the reason behind it, but let's take those off and know that there's more to this world than we understand. There's so much more out there that the things that we know now that we didn't know 10 years ago, 50 years ago, 500 years ago, and what is to come. What more is there to learn, especially when it comes to the energy. And I'm, for those who think energy is woo-woo, I'm a Christian, and we are all based on energy. We are energetic beings. This is how we're created, and so energy is not woo-woo. Energy is how it is. It's where we are. And so, anyway, I just want to put that out there because I know that there are people like, oh, energy, no, this is just it's just out there and it's crazy. Well, this is who we are.
Well, no, that's true. And even, people kind of do put that into maybe the woo-woo category sometimes, but at the same time talk about, I'm so exhausted, my energy is so low, or I'm so excited, my energy is high, I feel really good. And yes, that is energy, and you run into what they call the energy vampires. Yes. And they suck your energy, and you feel it. And I tell people, that person, as soon as you see their number come up on your phone, or you see them in the store and you might duck behind an aisle because as soon as you talk to them, they just deplete you, and that's energy.
It's true. And when you're in a situation where you are working so hard to get healthy, get pregnant, whatever it is that you're working through at the time, even if it's just to optimize, I know that I've let go of relationships because there are things that I don't want to be sucked of my energy. I don't want to be drained. The things that I care about are going to be to lift me and to lift those around me. And when you're already struggling with something going on, physically or mentally and emotionally, surround yourself with the people who are only going to lift you and help you and guide you.
Exactly. And from a Christian standpoint, you can really relate to that when you're in church or reading the Bible or finding an inspiring scripture, which I actually will weave into clients' sessions as well, if that's something that appeals to them. Yeah. And you can feel that, and you might feel before you went in or during your week, all this stuff is going on, and it is depleting, and it is frustrating, and it is does sort of kick into faith. And I find with clients there's a lot of spiritual issues that happen because they feel so beat up and all of that kind of thing. So, you can see how it all overlays. Yeah.
And I think I said this a little while ago. I don't know if I was thinking it or if I said it, but the physical affects the physical affects the mental and the emotional, and then vice versa. Right. And so addressing them both. And one of the hardest things, I know that so I just now went 3 different directions. So I'll try to finish what I was going to say. One of the hardest things is taking that time to be still and to sit and to pray and to meditate, whatever it is that you do, but it changes your biochemistry. And when you're going through that spiral, you have to find that practice. Even if you're not going through the spiral, you've got to find that practice so you can keep yourself in this, this good place. The thing that came to me, though, was from your website when you said that hypnosis and or hypnofertility can't come just by sitting still or just by being quiet. Right. It has to be. I wrote it down, and I can't even see it, but you have to be guided. Essentially, is what I would assume. That's what you do. Is you guide people into that place of hypnosis which is, will you describe hypnosis for those who maybe are curious and don't know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And hypnosis is a participatory process, so it's not something that's done to you, but at the same time, it takes a skilled hypnotherapist to help, guide you in the directions that you need to go, and has the skills to access the subconscious mind, to help clear blocks if that's necessary. Hypnosis, I call it the antithesis of stress. And we know how to help bypass or get you out of fight or flight rapidly. And, you can almost call it the antidote to fight or flight, which is rest and digest, or feed and breed, which is the parasympathetic nervous system.
I love that, feed and breed.
Feed and breed.
I've not heard that.
You love that one? Yeah. And we don't know that one, and isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Because everybody knows fight or flight,
Uh-huh.
and nobody knows feed or breed. Feed it, and rest and digest.
So it's the rest and digest that I know, but the feed and breed, I mean, it just makes so much sense.
And chances are rest and digest because that's what you do. But the average, people sort of in the everyday world, they'll say, oh yeah, fight or flight, I know that one. Rest and digest.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, we're supposed to be in rest and digest most of the time. And fight or flight is supposed to be like an emergency service, to get that energy.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of want to expand on that just a little bit, because sometimes I feel like, I think though, if we sort of understand a little bit of the biochemistry behind it, you kind of go, oh, that makes perfect sense. And so in understanding the rest and digest, the feed and breed versus the fight or flight, you literally have your nervous system, all of the blood, everything, not all of it, but most of it, for the feed and breed and for the rest and digest, it's at the core. It's in this place where it's doing its job. It's not at, your hands and your feet, all of your extremities. It is here and allows you, this is when you're calm, and this is when you're collected. This is why they say, mindful eating is so important, because in praying and meditation, because you can sit, you can absorb, you can break down your nutrients, you can absorb your nutrients, you can take in information. If you're meditating and listening to God, you can, be open to it. It's all of these amazing things that is this place of, the parasympathetic nervous system, where you are able to focus, essentially, right? And everything does its job. When you're in the sympathetic or the rest and digest, what happens is everything goes to the extremities. It's because it's got to work, right? Your hands, your arms, your legs, you've got to run, or you've got to do whatever the case may be.
Yeah, exactly.
And so all of the core blood and all of that stuff, where all of these functions are kind of they shut down a bit, because you need it all out here. The muscles have to work and contract and all of the fun things. And so what ends up happening to us is we're constantly in fight or flight. We're constantly in the sympathetic. We're constantly stressed and frazzled and frustrated and fearful and upset and working too much and all of these things that are in our world at this point. On top of that, then trying to have babies and heal and all of the things. And it is hard. It's just too hard. And so that's why we talk about hypnotherapy, resting, praying, enjoying your food, that brings it all back.
Right. And you're right too with, prayer, meditation, mindfulness, all of that is going to, hypnosis has that same kind of effect. The difference really is that we can help to access that state and then work there. And a lot of times with meditation, people think, well, I have to keep my mind still. Now, there's various types of meditation, and it's not necessarily seated meditation where you have to kind of notice the thoughts and then, let them go. In hypnosis, the mind can chatter. You can think about dinner. You can think about where you're going on vacation. The corporate merge that's happening tomorrow. All those kinds of things. You can sit there and wonder, am I being hypnotized? Is this really working? And it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because that's the conscious mind, and we're working with the subconscious mind. And that's what the subconscious is bigger, if you will, than the conscious mind, and it always wins. If the two are in conflict, it will always win. So you can try to, talk to your subconscious mind and convince it that I want a baby, or I want to eat healthy, or whatever that is. But if the subconscious mind has come up with, somehow this idea that that's not what you want, or that that's not good for you, or who knows, it's not logical, so whatever the reason might be, it's not going to change.
Isn't that interesting? There's so much behind that, because, you know, we talk about needing, you know, wanting to change habits. You know, that's part of, gosh, what I do every day is talk to clients about, you know, changing their food habits, and so many of them, it doesn't matter what it is, they're like, I can't do it. For one, that's, you know, a problem right there, saying, well, you can do it.
Right.
So, but it is so much of the mindset, but it goes so much deeper. And it's, you know, how do you get in tune with that? How do you break into that? And you know, for many of us, I was just thinking for myself, man, there are things that I need to do. I don't want to get pregnant, but I want to come to you just for hypnosis.
Right. My husband calls hypnosis a mind massage.
Oh, that is so good. Very cool. And so I feel like we didn't dig into what sessions look like with you, because we sort of got a little sidetracked. So what did we?
Right. No, we sort of started, and then fight or flight came up, and that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes with these. And I kind of figure whatever needs to come out comes out, right? So I sort of started talking about a brief intake, and just kind of finding out where you are, where the client is, and I work exclusively online now. I did have an office in Westminster. You know, pandemic happened, and I was already working more than 50% online anyway. So I basically, you know, I just do, it's nothing like what you might see on TV. And mostly what I'm doing is talking to the subconscious mind and communicating, but helping to what we call bypass the critical faculty, which is that part of the mind that is always thinking and that is already attached to, you know, this can't happen for me. I can't do this.
Right.
And so I guide people into hypnosis, and most of the time it is me doing the talking, but sometimes it's an interactive process. And I know how to help them to access deep levels of hypnosis, which it's funny because people who are struggling with infertility are often told to just relax. And it's like, oh yeah, why didn't I think of that?
Just relax.
Right?
How easy is that?
Exactly. It's like telling an insomniac to just go to sleep.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
Why not, right? Why not? And so oftentimes they can't relax, or they feel like they can't relax, and hypnosis can help them to do that without them having to try to do that. You don't have to be relaxed to be hypnotized, but it's kind of almost like a side effect. And so I work with different things, helping, you know, to balance that sympathetic nervous system stuff that's going on, helping to release any types of blocks. It can, you know, during hypnosis, you can listen to every word I say, and you can ignore me completely. It doesn't matter, because hypnosis works with the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind, its language is emotion. It is imagination. It is symbolism, right? It's metaphor. And, you know, so talking to somebody and telling them what should work or what will work or what to do did work, they wouldn't be struggling. And so hypnosis helps to communicate with the subconscious and basically bypassing that conscious mind. Now you know what's going on. You can hear everything. It's just that the conscious mind kind of thinks it's us, but it's not so much. And it's more of that ego, and it's more of that, you know, I know what to do, and I want to do it this way. And the subconscious mind, that's where things need to happen.
It's so interesting. I'm thinking about, you know, we have this concept that is kind of becoming bigger and bigger, and it's this concept of, you know, manifesting, right?
Right, yeah.
And so, you know, I think, you know, it can be a little bit of a slippery slope, but, you know, I think so much of that is the visualization, and it's that, help me with this, because I'm not sure I'm going to say this really correctly, but that the subconscious mind doesn't really know what's real or what's not real, right?
Nope,
so if you visualize it, if you say it's so, the subconscious mind goes, cool, all right, let's go. Right, kind of?
Right, sort of, yeah. I mean, the subconscious mind does, that's why it's so important to use imagery but you don't have to be visual either. So there's a lot of, with hypnosis, it's one thing, and then there's a lot of exceptions. But emotion impacts the subconscious mind. So if I'm sitting there doing affirmations every day that are like, yeah, I'm fit, trim, and healthy, my fertility is amazing, anything like that. The subconscious mind doesn't get that.
Yeah.
But if I put some energy behind it, you know, I'm healthy and well, my baby's coming at just the right time and in just the right way, and you don't have to even say it out loud, but in your mind, that impacts the subconscious. That makes it kind of perk up and say, okay, negative energies, positive energies, emotions impact the subconscious mind. That's why we can remember mean things or horrible things that happen to us. And we can remember, like easily remember. And somebody throws us a surprise birthday or does something really nice for us, or the birth of a child, or wedding day, or things like that. Those are right there too, because they're imprinted emotionally. Then we have triggers. So for example, you know, the partner breaks up with you at prom, and a certain song is playing. You know, I literally saw this on Beverly Hills 90210 many years ago, and it was
back in the good old days.
Right? Oh yeah. And it was funny because literally, I don't know if anybody even knows who the characters are anymore, but literally, Brenda says, "Oh, that song by R.E.M. was playing when Dylan and I broke up in the car," and I'm like, "Yes, that's it right there." She will never forget that. That song will always bring that forward.
So funny.
And so those are triggers, and we might smell a certain perfume or a certain type of cookie, and it reminds us of grandma. And it can remind us of positive things, but also negative things.
Yeah, for sure. And can bring us, if it reminds us of negative things, then it can bring us to the negative. Right,
Yes,
so we want to work to staying in the positive. I know for me personally, you know, I my sweet mom, oh my goodness, today's been a year that she's been gone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wow, sorry. That just sort of, I'm like, holy smokes, my goodness. Anyway, yeah, she is doing what she has always been meant to do. She's out there flying high and doing all the good things. She was an amazing lady. So anyway, wow, that just totally took my thought away. Okay, my sweet mom was very much a negative self-talk, self-doubter personality her entire life. And so I don't know when I started noticing this, maybe as I started, you know, surrounding myself with people who were talking about, say, negative self-talk is not good. Let's get it out of that. Let's bring the energy up. Let's talk good things, because you are you know, everything about us, we are created by God, right? We are as we are supposed to be. And so it's been a process for myself personally to get out of that I'm stupid, I can't believe I did that, you know, what were you thinking kind of stuff. And a lot of us do that. So many of us do that. And I'm finally getting to the point to where if I say it, I'm like, no, you're not stupid, and move on. You know, everything's great. Just move on. And so I think it's so important. I just say, you know, I put my own story out there because I feel like it's relatable, and I think it's important to be aware of that and aware of the things that we say to ourselves, because it does go into our subconscious, and
absolutely,
it's so hard and harsh.
Oh, it definitely is. And there's a really cool technique that is actually a cognitive behavioral therapy technique that you can do when you catch yourself saying something like that, and we call it the cancel technique. But you basically can think in your mind, or you can literally do it, you know, cancel, and cancel out that thought. And you do that with emotion, you know, cancel, I am, whatever it is.
Oh, I love that.
I like, my mantra is my baby's coming to me in just the right time, in just the right way. So that's a good one. Every day in every way, I am better and better is a good one. And that's actually something that was developed, you know, a couple hundred years ago as a really powerful hypnotic suggestion. But it can be whatever your affirmation is, whatever your mantra is, whatever you want to have, or, you know, whatever you want to say. If I'm stupid, oh no, cancel. You know, I'm open and receptive, I'm open-minded, I'm intelligent, whatever it is. And having some energy behind that. And then the second part of that, or something that actually came to mind when you were talking, is toxic positivity. And this is something I've talked about a lot lately, because with the manifesting and with the self-help and with all of that, I've seen clients come to me that, you know, will say, I had a negative thought, I ruined the entire IVF cycle.
Oh no.
And because they get the idea, I've got to think positive all the time. We don't think positively all the time. We have a negativity bias in the brain, which keeps us alive, right? Which is protective. And it may not be kind of up to speed as far as how we've evolved, but there is something to that. And so I see a lot of people being blamed for, well, you created your cancer, you created your infertility because you were thinking negatively too much. Negativity doesn't help you, but it's, you know, it's part of our, you know, so-called reality. And what I like to prevent happening or help bring to the attention of clients or people I'm working with is you don't have to be positive all the time. But if we can be aware and catch ourselves, because when we have 60,000 thoughts a day and we certainly don't pay attention to all of them, and so many of them are repetitive, and so many of them are negative. But if we can have an awareness and catch that, and then, you know, this IVF is never going to work. Cancel, you know, and then replacing that with, you know, my baby's coming to me in just the right time, in just the right way, or I'm really pleased with my, you know, team of practitioners, or whatever that might be. And so then, because with that, you know, that toxic positivity, that spirals, people beat themselves up. I had a negative thought, I've ruined everything. And so part of, you know, the hypnosis, you know, this beats up self-confidence, so part of the hypnosis is to help, you know, support confidence again and empowerment.
That's so interesting, and I can imagine, you know, when we all have these, you know, self-help, you know, we're in a world now of self-help, I feel like, and it can go too far. Is kind of what you're saying, right?
Absolutely. You know, there's that pendulum that swings, and it applies to the, you know, the masculine, feminine energies, and it applies to positivity and negativity. I mean, nobody's striving to be negative, right?
Right.
But at the same time, there is that, you know, so-called reality. I always have to say reality in air quotes. I just can't do it any other way. I just can't. But we also have to be careful of. And it's a fine line, you know, that magical thinking where I've seen people, you know, doing demonstrations, and I'm going to take your cancer away from you right now, or I'm going to, you know, you've been in a wheelchair, I'm going to help you to walk. And I mean, I'm not even talking about, you know, some of that, you know, stuff we see in, you know, in churches and so forth, but I'm talking about people doing a demonstration about anything, Reiki, nutrition, hypnosis, whatnot, and, you know, we need to just change the way you're thinking. Definitely when we change the way we look at things, things that we look at change, absolutely. But it's not black and white, and I think that's the issue in this world right now, is we think everything is black and white, and it's not.
I totally agree with that, I can't believe we're out of time, because we might have you on sooner rather than later again, because I have some other questions for you. But we do have to wrap up a little bit early. We have another guest, another show host who comes on who's amazing, so stay tuned. But I want to make sure that people know where to find you, how to find you. There's so many people out there who need what you have.
Yeah, absolutely. Website's probably easiest, hypnofertility.com. And then Instagram, Lynsi Eastburn, and Facebook, I do have HypnoFertility.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Well, we will definitely have you on again. And, sorry, I keep stepping on you.
No, you don't. It's not even me.
So, of course, Taste Life Nutrition. This is Taste Life Nutrition Radio, streaming live on KUHSdenver.com. We are also the Taste Life Nutrition podcast, so you can always find us on Facebook. You can find Lynsi with me always on Facebook, on YouTube. We're working on Rumble, so we're hoping that, and that way we've got some of the newer shows on Rumble now. We are one of the things that I don't know that I've said a lot about is in Soulful Conception, my preconception planning and care program for the visionary is kind of what I'm coming up with. It's for the visionary. Anyway, this is a program that is really geared toward those who want to take the time to be as healthy as possible, knowing that it will impact the future. But it doesn't mean that it is eliminating those who are struggling, because it absolutely is not, because that's a very important piece as well. part of this program is to have experts who are involved in areas where I'm not the expert. This includes Lynsi. She is going to be really an amazing piece of this program, and I'm super excited about it. We're still working on scheduling and working through the details and that kind of thing, but this is going to be, in my mind, it is going to be a big, a game changer. I'm just putting it out there in my world. It's going to be a game changer for our health now, for our kids' health, and for our future. So, having people on like Lynsi is amazing, and we plan to give just so much information, so much guidance to be able to create healthy babies and a healthy future. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great. So exciting.
Yeah, I know. I'm so excited. It's coming. It's coming.
Yes. It is. Absolutely.
At this point, I'm hoping first quarter is when we get started, first quarter 2023. So we're starting to really get it out there.
It's that right time, right way. My project, my baby, it's your baby.
Yeah.
It's coming to me in just the right time and just the right way.
Love that.
It really
It's my
does fly.
baby. Oh, that just gave me.
It's your baby.
Aw,
Yeah.
my baby's coming in just the right time and just the right
Just the
way.
right way. You got it.
So go to tastelifenutrition.com. Also go to hypnofertility.com. But you can find on my website an assessment that you can fill out. I reach out to you personally. We'll chat about it, figure out what we can do to give some help, give some guidance, where we need to go from there. You can find Taste Life Nutrition on all of the social media platforms, and you will see more and more Soulful Conception coming up. And it's good stuff. So thanks for being here. We're taking next week off. There will be a rerun. I'm not sure which one it'll be. But have an amazing and beautiful and enjoyable, grateful Thanksgiving. So much to be grateful for. Even the tiny things, be grateful. So thank you for joining us. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for
Thank
joining me.
you.
I'm
Thank
sorry
you